Hello, students. Okay, so today's lesson is about vowel digraphs. So what's a digraph? It's a word, we also called them back in kindergarten, the vowel teams. And so in terms of the vowel team, I want you to know vowel teams, which are two letters, two vowels that come together to make one sound. So the first thing, so today in our SAM, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to split this chart up. And I'm making 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different rows. Of course, a little extra one for some of the miscellaneous vowel teams, all right? But let's do the basics. Let's do the real basics. So the first one is the sound is A. A says, oh, you know what I'll do? I'm going to do A says A. It also says ah. So you know one way to make the sound. The sound is A. You know one way, and of course, A, magic E. So there you go, A, and A, magic E. You know two ways to make the sound. The sound is E. So it'd be E. E magic E, silent E. Right? Nice. You know three ways. You know two ways to make this sound. The sound is I. So it's long I. I says I. And IE says I. Oh, sorry. I silent E says I. Got it? There we go. You know two ways to make this sound. The sound is O. So there's O says O. And O silent E says O. Remember, it's like word that ends with O. Okay, it ends with a silent E. You know two ways to make this sound. The sound is U. So obviously, it's U, says U. And U, magic E, says U. Okay, excellent. Now, here we go. What we're going to do is now there are going to be two new words. There's going to be several new digraphs that you're going to see. The first one is actually about, so let's start with now. You know three ways to say this vowel. E says E, E silent E says E, and E says E. Shake the sand. That's the first one. In fact, now you'll know four ways to say it. E says E, E says E silent E says E, EE says E, and EA says E. Like in C. Or eat. Okay, here we go. So those are the first four. I'll just line them like this. And now watch this. You're gonna know now you're gonna know two ways. You're gonna know one way to three ways to say O. O says O. O silent E says O. OE says O, like in toe, and OA says O. So there are now 4 ways to say O, like in boat. Good. In this case now, take a look at this A. You will now know 3 ways to say A. It's A says A magic E says A, and AI says A, like in pale. Cool. Like in pale or like in snail. Okay? And don't forget, now you know 4 ways to say E. E says E, EE says E, E magic E says E, and EA says E. Okay? As in tree. Now, you will now know 4 ways to say A. It's A says A silent E says AI says A, and AY says A. Please refer to Mr. Tan's separate video on Y as a vowel. Okay. And that wraps. And then there are these things called diphthongs. So now there's also one more thing I want to teach you guys, and it's called the diphthongs. Diphthongs. So diphthongs. You know 3 different diphthongs. The sound is not A, E, I, O, and U. It's a new vowel sound called ow. Ow. So there's 2 ways to make the ow sound. It's ow, OW says ow, and OU says ow. OW says ow, and OU says ow. This case, ready? One more time with the IE. You'll now know 3 ways to say I, 3 ways to say IE. So ready? I says I silent E says IE says I like in pie, and IGH says I. There's 3 words that make one sound. IH says I. Nice. You will also know that there's another vowel that likes to make the E sound. Ready? E says E says E magic E says EA says E, and Y says E. Y says E. Like in penny. Y also likes to do other vowels. I says I magic E says IE says IGH says I, and Y says I, like in cry. So do you know what I did? I changed the symbol. So the Y is blue because it represents tears. And the Y is green here because it represents money. So Y says E, like in money, and Y says I, like in cry. And 3 more. You know, 2 vowels that make the oo sound, u sound. And there's one more. U says U magic E says U, and this one's a weird one. It's O-O. O-O says ooh. Ooh. So we'll just put it over here because it's close to the long U sound. And there are 3 more owl sounds. And there are 3, so that wraps up the long diphthongs. Let's review again. There are 4 ways now to say A. A says A, AE says A, AI says A, and AY says A. There are 5 ways to make the E sound. E says E, EE says E, E silent E says E, EA says E, and Y says E, like in money. There are 5 ways to do I. I says I magic E says IE says IGH says I, and Y says I, like in cry. There are 3 ways to make the O sound. 4 ways. O says O silent E says OE says OA says O. Oh, Mr. Chan forgot one more. Oh, there's 5 ways now for A. And there are now 1, 2, 3 ways to say U. U says U magic E says U, and UE says U, like in the word blue, and OO says ooh. And then there's these unusual ones, the diphthongs. There are 2 ways to make the owl sound. OW says ow, and OU says ow. I know it's a lot of stuff, but we are getting into the more advanced chapter of Orton Gillingham. So I hope you were able to use this as a way to review these sounds. This ends the recording.